Alright, and welcome back to another one of my Arknights SSS Tower guides. Today we're going to be looking at Emergency Acahuallan Jungle. And one quick thing to note before we enter, and it will play a role especially in the final stage of this map, is enemies when they're defeated deal attack as an AoE damage. So that is important to note. In the last floor, it really will impact the run. And for the negative debuff items that we get these concrete blocks. They have 0 block. You cannot destroy them. You cannot retreat them. And when they're in the deployment zone, they make everything cost +2, and this stacks for each one that you have in your deployment zone. You can place them. They cost 30 DP for the first one, and then if you have more in your hand, well, it's going to cost more and more and more. So as usual, we're picking the adaptive supply component. It's the same thing that we picked in the last SSS, and we are going with exactly the same buffs that we chose in the previous SSS as well, and every other SSS guide that I've done. The only thing we change is Medic A changes to Medic B, because in a tight spot, if you end up in a situation where you no longer know what to pick, but you do have a choice of a medic, it's not exactly a bad idea to be able to pick up a medic to revive a down operator within range, keep those buffs alive, and avoid having to cycle through them to get that operator back, especially if it's a key operator like Eyja or something else. This operator squad is exactly the same as the previous map. I would highly recommend, if you have supports or something else, I would change out these 4 operators at the end. And obviously Ash doesn't have to be Ash, Exu doesn't have to be Exu. They can be things like Blue Poison, whatever else. We're really just looking for the sniper buff, while at it here and there being able to kill a few things, but in general just having the sniper buff. But in terms of these last 4 operators, you don't really need these 2 supporters anymore because of the adaptive supply component. We tend to not need it too much. Unlike the original 4 SSS towers, you don't get stuck as much when you're using this adaptive supply component. And then otherwise, I would recommend switching out, especially the 2 supporters and probably the CEO, to something like a Lin, a Reed Alter, a Lee. These 3 are extremely good in this SSS because it is very much about dealing with extremely large waves of garbage minions, and it's gonna feel extremely clunky as a map and everything. So as usual, we're gonna switch to S2 Goldenglow. We will switch that back to S3 for the final map, if I remember. And otherwise, Saria will switch between S1 and S2 depending on the map. Otherwise, everything is very standard. So as I mentioned, these add +2, so instead of being 5, this is 7. Technically, these are 28 cost, but they apply +2 to themselves. So if you have an Angelina or an Eyja opening, that's always a nice way to deal with that. And remember, this is just a warm-up, so we have a really easy map to start.
Ready to go. Easy.
So you see now that we have 2 in the hand, these are 32 each now. We're adding +4 to everybody. So it starts adding up quite fast. So you do want to, when you have chances to cycle them out, there's going to be some maps that are going to be quite difficult with these in your hand. And you really are going to have to choose a very good time to get rid of them. So again, you don't have to get rid of them. They do take up a spot in your hand, though. And now Justice Knight is probably going to die. As you're going to see, as the enemies die, and that little bit of damage ticks off, she starts taking damage. And now we're more or less done our setup, so we just need one more sniper, which we got here. Cycle this out, get the Goldenglow down, and we're basically done this map. Again, it's just a warm-up. You don't have to worry too much about actually blocking lanes or anything like that. You're not going to be tight on DP or anything. So if you watch the previous guides, the strategy is going to mostly be the same. We're just going to be getting 5 buffs. I didn't even see that spawn past the Texas. I guess adding an extra block there is not going to hurt. Okay, so we're done. Oh yeah, it's true. I was supposed to press Eyja. Doesn't really matter. So that's going to be a preview. That's going to be a warm-up and a preview into what every map is going to be like. It's just going to be a huge rush of tons of garbage minions. So having lots of AoE options is very good for this. This team that we built ages ago and that we're using for every single map is not super great for this. So like I mentioned, switching out those last operators for something like a Reed Altar, a Lee, even Penance is good too, if it has some utility. There's definitely some great options that you can utilize in for this tower that, I mean, it doesn't fit in using exactly the same team for every single SSS, but if you want to take this kind of setup and strategy and add operators that are going to make it easier, then by all means do so. The point is, I just want to be lazy and choose exactly the same team and run exactly the same strategy for every SSS that I play. In this particular one, we're going to be looking to get a couple of Vanguards. Because of those concrete blocks that we have, it's nice to have some Vanguards, especially even just to get the buffs up, because we are going to be running the defenders with Vanguard buffs. So especially Mudrock with 4 Vanguard buffs is going to be a very commonplace across most of the maps, and as well as just generating DP and generating DP. So here again, we're hoping to get like an Eyja or something, or an Angelina start, which we got. And let's clear out all these enemies to start. So let's get some Vanguards going. I'm leaving Angelina there because it's going to be very nice for the first slug wave. I'm gonna go ahead and already start adding blocks down. And this is our first slug wave. So as you can tell, this is setting the pace of what we're gonna be looking at for the rest of this tower. It is probably my least favorite tower. Alright, we've got some DP. Let's get these out of the way. Let's start getting our buffs. We're gonna have Skalter down here and just leave her there for the rest of the map. And so while this is going on, we are trying to get buffs up on where the Texas slot is. We're trying to get 4 Vanguard buffs. We're gonna reset the Exu so I don't have to worry about getting that buff back, because we did get the Black Knight to get that 5th buff on that slot. And I just noticed we actually had enough. Let's go ahead and place the Mudrock down. And now we're really only waiting to put the Eyja down and Goldenglow down. But in general, this should be good to clear. there's the Eyja. You can also use Angelina. As I mentioned earlier, if you have Reed Alter, she tends to just deal with these smaller mobs much better than Eyja. Just because Eyja's a 6 target, while Reed Alter will just blow up the 100 targets that you have. Also, true AoEs, things like Lyn, like Carnelian are also really good options as well to pick up. Or even just have on your team from the start, instead of, let's say, an Eyja, instead of a Goldenglow. Goldenglow in this SSS does not feel as impactful because she's very much a single target caster. Yes, the explosions have a small AoE, but it's hard to rely on that for this run. So, like you saw with the Slug Wave, that's setting the pace for the rest of the tower. You are going to be dealing with a lot of garbage. So we got Reed Alter. I'm going to take the Reed Alter just because she's here and I don't like the other options anyway. And I'll point out using her. Here, Frost is not a bad choice. Being able to cycle the high ground, especially if you don't get the pickups that you really like. Having an extra caster that isn't, 30 cost like Katana would be really nice. Frost is indirectly gonna be able to give you an extra caster buff or an extra sniper buff. So I'm gonna take Frost. She's not super expensive to place either, so that's going to be one part. And we're gonna switch Zarya to S2 for this one. So from here, Zarya's gonna be on S2 for a little bit until the final map. Now, ideally, you would have picked up another sniper and another caster by now, but this is what it is. This is going to be a bit of a gamble to drop off the Zarya. And that was a huge loss on my part. That was absolutely a massive loss. So what we're aiming to do is setting up our Eyja or Reed Alter where the Ling is, our Goldenglow in the center facing down, and then we're going to have a Mudrock with 4 Vanguard buffs in the center, and that will generally take care of this map. And Siege is really good for this. It wasn't intentional to get Siege in this run, but Siege is nice for having that S2. We need to get some of these blocks out before they stack up too high. Oh, I forgot to place this down too. That was a huge mistake as well. I could have also used Frost to rotate the Exu, but I don't think it matters all that much. We're not getting terribly lucky with our pickups, so like I really want these 3 pickups as soon as possible. Okay, so that's nice. That's unfortunate. I noticed that too late. Alright, so let's see. We need snipers. We got Vanguard. Nice. Now we just refreshed. So this is where it's really nice to just rotate Frost out using Frost. And get that buff back. We really need our snipers. There's one. And then we can use... Be very careful about rotating your robots with Gladia or Frost or any other specialist, because they do retain their they do retain their increased redeployment time. So there's still about 100 seconds. And now we need to get some damage going. Remember, I don't really care about killing these because I don't use... For these guides, I don't... take the... So these equipment activation valves are the ideal to pick up. Otherwise, the reassignment, where you can just remove somebody from the draw pile, or remove 1 to 2 operators from the draw pile, that works really well. But otherwise, the equipment activation valves are the ones you're aiming for. And now we can finish this reader, so I'll be able to show with Read Alter. This is not even a great map for Read Alter, and in the end, I could just leave the Eyja down. And we're still, at this point, trying to stack up our Vanguard slot. We got enough on the Ash. Got enough on the Read. So, now we're just trying to make sure we don't leak through these 2 slots. So we're going to fill up with some blocks. So Read Alter tends to do very well on this map. We have barely we've barely rotated our Vanguards. It would have been good to swap out one of the 2 Vanguards earlier. But otherwise, not the end of the world. I'm gonna go ahead and use Gladia. Rotate this. So we do take a little bit of damage, so especially if you're having Eyja in the Read Alter slot, you are going to be taking some damage. Hence having Sara on S2, because you'll be able to cover the Goldenglow and the Eyja from that position. I believe Nian is still on S3. Not on S2. I should have switched her to S2. So once again, equipment activation valves are the ideal. We did not get the reassignment transmitter, but it's the one that lets you remove 1 to 2 operators from your draw pile and gain assign operator points for that. And at this point, we didn't get it, but we're just going to swap into the Mudrock right away. And we finally got our other Vanguards. Siege finally returned to the hand. So Nian is improving the block and the defense of everybody else. That's actually a mistake on my part. She should be on S2, but I mean it works out for this regardless. So again, Read Alter or Eyja in that spot, both of them work. Read Alter is slightly preferred. Read Alter will tend to do a bit better, because she just has great uptime with S3, but it's not a big deal if you're using Eyja. The same strategy will work with Eyja. In previous guides, we use weapon supply system, but for this one, we're going to be going with orientation deployment support system. This is because we are going to be cycling defenders a bit more on this tower, and having them cost 0 is amazing. And again, we don't get to pick a unit on floor 4. So we are very, very restricted on our snipers and casters. So this is a very unfortunate run so far. Normally, I'd like to have at least one more of each by now. We did get the Frost, which will give us that pseudo attempt. Reed will function like a caster, but not provide buff slots. So that definitely hurts, because we're not going to be really placing Reed down all that much until the stacks are ready for her. And this is going to be pretty much one of the hardest maps for the entire tower. The next one is pretty free. We are going to be dealing with a lot of enemies extremely fast. As you can see, 176, plus the fact that some of them explode into more. The Rainbow Six Siege event mobs. So yeah, it's a rough stage. And similar to this, if you haven't been able to stack up a solid team and be able to cycle your units quickly, you will probably struggle on this map. At least with this squad. Obviously, if you're using something completely different, that's a completely different story. The next map at least isn't very easy to deal with, but we do have to deal with this first. So we're going to be aiming to have Eyja on the left, Mudrock here with 4 Vanguard buffs, and then fill up these 2 slots with just basic defenders or Vanguards. Our Goldenglow in the middle, and just have something here on the side, something like a Suzerain and Gnosis. Given that we have Reed Altar works in this position as well. Otherwise, like, just decent damage output from the right side. And how fast you can set this up is going to very much set the pace for the rest of the run, or the rest of this. We're gonna go ahead. So you might be wondering why I leave this space open. One of the things is because we're going to be focusing so much on the left side, and enemies are going to start leaking through and are going to definitely be blocked by Texas later in the run. So one of the things that does happen is that, I'll put Nian there. One of the things that does happen is that Goldenglow will target the enemies being blocked by Nian, which is going to be quite helpful for us.
Let's go.
あんたたちの恨みいただあれ先輩これでそうです目標をロックしたわよ任せろ戦場に出たからには死ぬ覚悟決めろキラリーとナットボンあっちに行くリラックスしてリラックス戦場に出たからには死ぬ覚悟決めろ
So SSS2 is actually quite nice for what we're doing right now. And we need to start cycling more, so I'm going to replace the Suzerain. And I'm going to replace the Cantabile at this point, because that was looking a little sketchy. Once Angelina finishes, I will be replacing with the... Be replacing with the Gnosis. So, if you do have Ling in this spot, like in previous towers, I've considered Ling just like a generic supporter. But if you do have a Ling, it is very useful to be able to use her skill in this situation. And once again, I forgot to switch the skill on. I forgot to switch the skill on Nian.
Stay alert.
あんたたちの恨みいただくね。
始めよう。誰にも
Okay, so we're finished the left side, and now we're gonna start focusing on the right side here.
誰にでも扱えるわけではない。祝福を。整いもこの力こそ。
Okay, so I'm also gonna slow down because we're actually quite nice on
We're ready
the
for
buffs that we have. I think 4 slots is gonna be fine. So we're going to set this up. And now we need to start getting our buffs going on the right side. It's Cantabile.
私の貴様の生死は私が決める。
害虫が。
So as I mentioned, Mudrock will probably be fine. We have a buffed Eyja to support, but enemies are definitely leaking through Siege, and that's where Goldenglow is going to be targeting that right side with the weaker arts setup that we have. And we're hoping that we don't leak too much here, except it looks like we are leaking, because we have not finished setting up our Goldenglow. So that's a little unfortunate, and we don't even have anything that will really be able to help, do we? It's unfortunate. But otherwise, we are surviving. And most of the hard part is over. By the end of this wave, Goldenglow will be set up, and it'll be a lot smoother. We have one last wave to deal with. And I will just swap this
Don't let them
out.
get the drop on you.
At this point, we're just stacking a few buffs before the final wave.
あんたたちの恨みいただくね。
And we're done. Okay. So this will clear the final wave. Again, it doesn't have to be Reed Alter. It can be somebody else. In general, with 2 blocks and the fact that Goldenglow will be focusing on the right side as soon as they get past Siege or whatever you're using as your front line on the right side, that's going to be more than sufficient. Again, S2 is very nice. You'll be able to cover Reed Alter. Not that they should be taking too much damage from this position. The enemies don't tend to die around her, but just being able to cover this whole area is quite nice. And this is going to look quite hectic for a little bit. And then you're just going to press Eyja, clear out the left side, and Goldenglow will just focus on the right side. There you go. Nice and clean. Siege was definitely a nice find. She works quite well in that spot, actually. But it's not something that I would usually start with, but the fact that I had it did not hurt. Now we have a relatively simple map, so remember, getting extra caster buffs, this is really nice. This is a great pickup, and just in general, her AoE is fantastic for this tower. So we're definitely gonna go with Lyn, because in general I need more caster buffs regardless, because it's going to be a bit slow. And here, I actually have 3 really good options. Both all Glemshine, Eben, and Sail are all great options here. If you withheld the Praminix and Shamar at the beginning of the run, you did not take them. Sora is a very incredibly cheap supporter to place for cycling, so this would also be a relevant pickup if you didn't already have 7 supporters. So basically, this is a really nice lineup of operators for this tower, and I will go with the Sail. Blem is also would also be very, very nice, but having that extra Vanguard that can generate DP is extremely nice, because the other ones, Cantabile and Siege, are not generating too much depending on the situation. So we're gonna go with this. We're gonna switch Saria back to S1, and she will stay on S1 for the rest of the map, or the rest of the tower. If you do get a Gumi or a Gnarl, those are also great options to get. Alright. We're in the home stretch. I find that this map tends to be nicer. And then we have the boss to deal with, and that's about it. But obviously, your mileage may vary. And there is always a lot of RNG with what you actually get at the opening. It is very easy to lose your position. So as soon as I get a defender, I'm going to be looking to place a defender down. Read altar obviously helps. So where the chair will be is where I'll be using Eyja, but read altar is also very good. And let's look. There we go. There's my Eyja. And I'm still looking for one of my defenders. It'd be very nice to get a defender. There's Nian. So we're just going to leave Nian at the top here for the rest of the map. Again, I forgot to change her skill. I'm not very good on that. I should have swapped Eyja using... I should have swapped using Frost. Swap the Eyja using Frost. I was wondering where those were. We finally got one. We can set up another caster buff using the Goldenglow, and then just swapping it back with Frost. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, because we're far from getting our Goldenglow fully set up. I'm just gonna let Lyn finish her skill. There we go. Get Frost out. And Nian should be fine for the run like this. And now we're basically just looking to get our Eyja back. And we are very far on the sniper front. Nian will be fine here. You don't really need to pay too much attention to her. She'll laze around on the top lane. You don't have to worry too much about her. Similar to the previous ones, we're going to be setting up 4 Vanguard blocks. And then we're going to be setting up 1 defender. And that should hold for the run. So we're looking to get our Eyja back. And we're also looking to get more archers, or more snipers. I keep calling them archers. More snipers. So that's already fully stacked. Given how late it's getting into the run, we could... actually, yeah, let's just do it like this. And there we go. So Ashe is going to rotate back up. We're going to put one Vanguard or caster buff under, and that means Goldenglow will charge a bit faster. And there's our Eyja back. So the nice part about Eyja is from this position, she can hit in front of Nian. And we got Justice, it's a little bit cheaper. And there we go. So we've more or less cleared the map. We don't have to touch anything on the top side. Just pressing Eyja skill every now and again to clear out the left side will also deal with the top side. If you do get more Vanguards, feel free to swap out and get more Vanguard stacks on the back. You can start spamming Texas, spam Sail Leech if you have a Sail Leech with you, or whatever else you decide. If you decided to bring, let's say, a guard or something else, it's a really nice spot to just set up like a Thorns, a Chungus, whatever else. Chungus was one of the available options in the previous selection, so yeah, you could have done that as well. If you did get something like a Blemshine, this is where it's a really nice time to finish getting those Vanguard stacks at the back, drop your Blemshine in, and you're good to go. This is probably the most impact that Goldenglow has. LT4 and LT5, it's definitely the most impact that Goldenglow has in this map. In the next map, she's not going to have too much impact. We will use her, but it's going to be very minor and less of a priority. So that's one of the reasons why I'm not... if I do get the chance to get cheap snipers, it's not a terrible thing to get. It always helps Gnosis as well, because you can buff up your Gnosis, you can buff up your Suzerain. But in general, that's not our focus for this tower. And there we go. LT5 cleared. Like I said, this tends to be a breeze with this current strategy.
ここで起きたすべては英語を誰にも知られないのが一番よ。
And here we go, onto the boss stage. This is going to be probably the most difficult part. We are going to do a slightly cheesy strategy, and this is going to require a little bit of speed and some recognition. Don't press your Goldenglow too early, so we will be switching Goldenglow to S3, and I will talk about not pressing her skill until the boss spawns, because you can ruin the slightly cheesy strat. So this takes advantage of the fact that adaptive supply component, even if you're not killing anything, even if you're not cycling with supporters, is providing you some transfer permits here and there. And this is incredibly important for this strategy that we're about to do. So another caster buff is quite nice. Otherwise, Blemshine is also super nice. One of these two would be great. I'm sure Dorothy is fantastic too at this map too, for this map, but because we're trying to keep our core strategy the same as what we've done in previous towers, I won't be taking Dorothy to cheese that, but yes. I'll also still show it with Eyja, but if, let's say, Eyja dies, because there is some RNG, there is some randomness in this, if Eyja dies, then I will switch and place the Read Alter down to complete the map, but otherwise we're going to try and just do it without Read Alter. But again, if you have Read Alter, I highly recommend using her instead of Eyja for this map. So we're going to get Click to get more caster buffs down. Otherwise, Blemshine is also very good for this. But we have a lot of low ground, so I'm going to take Click to set up that. And actually, since we did not take the Blemshine before, let's take the Liskarm here. Getting a couple of defender buffs down is not a bad idea, because we are going to be dealing with absolutely massive amounts of enemies. And let's get started. As always, we're just removing that immediately. We're starting with 2 Vanguards in these 2 positions. If you have 2 Vanguards, great. If not, it's not the end of the world. I forgot to change my Goldenglow skill, didn't I? Oh well. This should be fun. So we're going to be looking to cycle our Vanguards out. And in the meantime, I'm going to put up Liskarm here. I should have faced Liskarm to the right. She is on the wrong skill. That's not very good. Be careful about where you place these concrete tiles, because they will block one of the boss mechanics that is quite important to, you know, not get screwed on. So I placed the wrong... I used the wrong skill. So one of the things is we are aiming to get 4 Vanguard buffs on this tile very quickly. It's not the end of the world if we don't get this, but we are aiming to get this very quickly. So I recommend placing it on the tiles that I'm using, obviously. That would be smart for a recommendation, right? And let's see. I am stuck. I cannot cycle anymore. And Sail is about to die, which is okay. We don't have nearly enough Vanguard buffs. Despite having all these Vanguards, we did not get nearly as nearly what I needed. So we're gonna go ahead and switch the plan. I do not want this guy to be so far forward, so it will hamper the strategy a little bit, but we can still take advantage. And okay, strategy's out the window. So we got our Mudrock with 4 Vanguard buffs. So how the boss works is the boss will keep putting down basically grassland, and every time it uses an attack, it will spawn one pollen enemy per grassland. And so unfortunately, I screwed up with my Goldenglow, so this is gonna be interesting. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to be using these every time you assign an operator from your deck. You will get the operator plus one of these basically cleaners, and you can use the cleaners to remove the grassland so that you're going to be spawning less enemies. Unfortunately, I don't have nearly what I wanted set up for this point. But I'm gonna go ahead and drop the sail in. We need some DP. So these things are going to do a lot of damage on Emergency. And I was expecting my sail to die, so that's fine. We're going to be replacing with the 2 defenders after. And we're going to hopefully cycle back for another Saria. Alright, so that's all good. We got what we wanted. And with the extra deploy slot, we can place Cantabile there. And when I get Suzerain back, I will place the Suzerain at the top. And this is where it gets sketchy, because Eyja tends to kill enough stuff to self-kill Seppuku herself. Alright, we made it through. So remember to keep cleaning up these tiles. Assign, clean, assign, clean. And we got our Suzerain back, so I'm gonna stack up a few buffs here. And the boss, as it moves over high ground tile, so it floats at the start, it will lose HP until it reaches half, and then it drops down to the ground. My Saga dropped, that's fine. That's very much within expectations. So you see how much damage Mudrock is taking? And again, make sure to keep cleaning. Don't forget to clean. We're gonna hope that the Mudrock survives. She should survive. If not, we're gonna reset her using Gladio. And this is one of the nice parts about having Suzerain. Suzerain can heal. And we still haven't gotten our Saria back. Let's go. Oh, yeah, we lost that. Just a bit too late on the Suzerain, unfortunately. But that's what the Gladio is there for. Let's keep cleaning. So the more you clean, the less you have to deal with. But you do have shit like this. I need to just remove slots.
じゃああの人たちはここに埋葬してあげましょう。
先輩恥には気をつけてください。あなたを逃がすに足る条件を提示してちょうだい。ないの。残念ね。
So unfortunately, my Mudrock was very late here. So the Mudrock was not supposed to die. Let's see if we can survive this. The boss has actually gone through. That was unfortunate, but we do have Nian. And there we go. So, like I said, this map is just a massive rush of garbage. It is very much imperative to clean the map up as you go, because that will help you significantly. So just try and I would very much recommend playing on 1x and just try and upkeep with cleaning up the map. So, like I said, the goal was to not use Read Alter, because I want to show that, you know, the same strategy that I always use, you know, is always the same strategy. I had forgotten to switch Goldenglow to S3, and I had screwed up on the stall on this guy. So in the middle of the run with that guy, you can stall using, like, let's say Saria, just have everything else out of range. And you can very much just using the special gadget that we start with, you can basically get your entire setup completed before the boss spawns. But otherwise, as you saw, it still works without. But I got kind of lucky with my draws, and so that definitely helped with this run. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions, questions. Like I said, this is using exactly the same team that I've used for every other SSS. So if you're asking why didn't you just bring Read Alter or Lee or this or that, that's why. The goal is to do exactly the same team, the same strategy, the same core on every single map, in every single tower. And to show that, you know, the same team can just deal with everything. More or less, anyway. So, yeah. We do differ in how we use the operators across the different towers, but in general, we're just aiming to use exactly the same team for every single... the same team and the same core for every single map. In this one, Ling does really help with LT4. Like, I think LT4 is... it's a heavy map. And Ling definitely helps with that if you want to use her dragons for that, or if you want to use a Mayor or something else. Those very much help, because you tend to have quite a lot of deploy in that early section, but just not enough, you know, output. Unless, of course, you're using like a Read Alter or Lee or whatever else to stall one lane very, very effectively. Anyway, hopefully this helped you. I had put this off for a good month because I don't like SSS. So there you go. There's the Acahuallan Jungle, flawless emergency, using exactly the same team that I've used every other SSS ever. So yeah, good luck and have fun. See you next time.